and now I'm ready.
What were you doing all day? What was your day like?
I have been babysitting a 2-year-old, um, and sleeping because yesterday I finished that film with Austin, um, and it was like an all-day shoot, so it was like really long, like 5
Mm.
a.m. to 8, and we had a little problem with the neighbors, but it was fine.
What's the movie like? What's the movie about?
It is basically about this girl who just lost her dad to suicide, and she, has been really struggling with it, and her mom has too. It's like her whole family is like broken down, or what's left of it. And she meets this girl at this party who she's known from her past, but the girl that she meets, her dad died too, and so they kind of like bond and make that connection. And basically it's also like to raise awareness for suicide prevention too, which is really important.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I'm in one just about a bunch of Italian guys. So I mean, you are changing the world one step at a time. But that's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Let me know
I
when
will.
that's out because I want to watch that. But I mean, let me get something straight. You have almost 11,500 followers on Instagram. I I don't even know if I know 11,500 people. I don't even know if I know 11 people. I definitely don't like that many. But you have this massive following for someone your age. And my question for you is, was it intentional? If so, what did you do to get there? If not, why did it happen?
Um, I never, I've never really wanted to be like an influencer or like an Instagram influencer. Um, that's just never been like my thing. Or I've always been in like the entertainment business, um, for the pure joy of like being in the business, and getting noticed by other people is obviously a plus because it gives you more opportunities in the future. But that's never really what I like look at it in that way. I do think I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people over my lifetime and get to perform to a lot of different audiences, which has helped me to grow a following. But yeah, it's never really been my, pure intention just for followers. I really also want to use my platform to help people in many different ways. And like you mentioned, like I am a pediatric cancer survivor, so it's really important for me to not only have that platform for, acting and singing and all my music stuff, but also to be able to spread awareness about pediatric cancer and help to fund and raise money and, do charity work. And a lot of that I do through what I love to do, which is like singing and acting. I've been able
Yeah.
to fundraise through that way, which has been really awesome.
I mean, I didn't even know this, but at 13 years old, you were cast as young Elsa in Disney's Frozen on frickin' Broadway. You were doing Carnegie Hall solo performances. You're big time. I mean, what was that like? How did you get into that? How did that all talk to me? What happened there?
I will. Like you said, I have always loved acting and singing my whole life. It's always been such a huge passion of mine. Um, and, I've been very lucky enough to, have connections and work with a lot of people. And I kind of started in LA doing equity theater. So my first show I did that was equity was Ragtime, and I played little girl. Um, and then I did Billy Elliot at the West End. Once I started doing shows like that, I wanted to branch out. Um, I have family in New York, so we were often in New York a lot. Um, and we had just known some of my friends had been in Annie on Broadway just from knowing people in the business and doing cabarets. And we were like, well, why don't I try to audition for this? Um, so actually, through Billy Elliot, um, an agent from New York scouted me out, and um, I was able to um, book book him, and then I became part of that agency in New York, and now I have one
Mm-hmm.
in LA. And I auditioned for Frozen in November, I think. And the process, I mean, was crazy. You really don't have like a turnaround when you audition for Broadway. It's more of like you audition, you have a day, then you get called back. Then there's like a third callback, a fourth callback, and sometimes a fifth callback. And all of that is like a read through with, different people.
Yeah.
My final callback, I was actually the only young Elsa left, and I was just reading with two young Annas. So they were trying to see like who would work best. And as I was flying home, um, we had one of those, what are those stop flights called where you like stop in the middle? Layovers?
Layover? Yeah.
Layovers. I was in a layover and they called me and they were just like, like, Brooke, we want you to know that you're going to be the first original young Elsa in Frozen on Broadway. And I literally screamed. People thought something was like wrong with me.
I would scream too.
I was very excited. And I had 2 weeks to pick up my stuff and figure everything out. And I moved to New York. Um, really,
From
really,
California.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I moved to New York really quickly, and started working like immediately.
Now, but you're 13, right? I mean, how does that even? What's that life like?
Yeah. It was definitely really difficult at first to figure everything out because I have a family of five and I have two um, younger sisters who are in a school. I had to
Mhm.
get pulled out of school. I was actually going to a private school, and um, there's all this. You have to hold your spot, and there's financial. It's like a whole thing.
Mhm.
So I ended up pulling out of my school because I was going to be schooled on set and Frozen. So that was figured out for
Mhm.
me. But my sisters, really loved their school and like they loved their friends, and I wasn't going to ask them to pick up and, leave their whole life behind um, just for me. So what my parents would do is my dad would stay with me 2 weeks, then my mom, and then they would literally cross through the air, like take flights at the same time, and then my mom would switch, or my whatever I said, my it would be my mom and my dad, and they
Mhm.
would switch off. So yeah, it was crazy.
It's a hectic. I mean, a lot of people think they want stardom, they want fame, they want popularity, and it's an interesting concept, popularity, right? Because you know, the idea of being known and liked by everyone is obviously attractive, but you're not going to be liked by everybody. And there's a reason for that popularity, right? There's a reason you have followers. There's a reason people are drawn to you. You've done something, right? You're not just going on there going, I want to be famous. And everyone's like, okay, let's make Brooke famous. You're providing something, you're doing something. It's hard work. It's not easy to put up with that schedule. I know adults that couldn't do it. And the fact that you were doing that at 13 years old is impressive. But at 14 years old, what you are about to go through at that age is takes you from being impressive to being one of the most respectable people I know. And you were diagnosed with cancer, stage 4, at that age, and I assume your life changes drastically. How did that change?
Yeah. So you know, obviously that was very unexpected. I'd actually just ended Frozen a couple months before. Um, And so, I was living a very amazing life. I'd just been off of the high of, working in New York. And I came back home and started feeling really just not right. I woke up at like 3 a.m. with like the worst back pain. I was throwing up crazy everywhere. My mom rushed me to the ER. They told me it was menstrual cramps and sent me back home. And then I had that same reaction again the next night. My mom's like, we're not gonna leave the hospital until, she gets a full body CAT scan because like something's wrong with her. Like this
Yeah.
is not like what they think it is. So I went back to the ER and they did a CAT scan and there were just tumors like all on my lymph nodes, on my back, all throughout my chest. Um, and being so young and 14, like my life was literally changed, and I had no time to like process what was about to happen to me because I had to start chemo right away because there was a tumor blocking one of my breathing tubes. So if we didn't start right away, I would have like stopped breathing. So I quickly started chemo, and I had chemotherapy for 7 months. Lost all my hair, couldn't do anything. I was absolutely miserable. Very low point in my life. But I will say I'm a very big believer in everything happens for a reason.
Mhm.
And certain events in my life have come in handy. And I think, one of the biggest ones for me has been, music and acting. Um, and that was something that I used very often for therapy purposes and um, to really help me cope because, like I said, as a 14-year-old with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, you're like what is going on? Like
Yeah.
there's no way to comprehend the feeling. You literally just hooked up to IVs and immediately just you become this body and you just feel nothing. And I lost that feeling for a while. And then as I re entered music back into my life, I would bring my guitar to my chemotherapy sessions. And I'd just play and write music about like how I was feeling. Because for me, it was easier to put the way I was feeling through melody rather than words.
Mhm.
Um, and that became like my outlet. I would run scenes, look up scenes, and I'd just try and go back in that mode and close my eyes and pretend I was someone else just for a
Yeah.
split second. Because for me, that was something that, was one of the driving forces to what I think helped me survive because it's also a big mindset, I would say. Like, obviously, as a woman, too, your hair is like a huge part of your, you know, identity or look.
Mhm.
Losing that and you lose the color in your face, you just lose everything. um and the only people you have is like the people who truly care about you and are really there for you. And yeah, music for me was something that really changed that, and I think altered my mindset to think there is a reason that this is happening to me. And even though that it doesn't seem like it in this moment, there's going to be a reason in my life that this has happened. Um, and I'm starting to find out more what that reason is as I, grow up and I'm going to college and all this, all these different things, as I enter my more adult life. Um, I've started to realize like I have a bigger purpose in life now, and it's to help kids who, are struggling with terminal illness, um, and to be that, support system and tell them that it's going to be okay because there's no handbook for how to beat diseases like this. Like, no one tells you, like, oh, this is how you beat cancer. Like, it's very hard to connect with people and reach out. Um,
Mhm.
so, yeah,
You,
being able to be that for someone is,
y- you grew up so fast.
yeah.
I mean, before that even happened, you're working a job that most kids couldn't even imagine. And then you go through this. It explains a lot from how I met you. I mean, when I met you, I was like, now I was an asshole and I was, we won't get into how I acted, but you, the first thing I knew when I met you was that she's got this star quality. She's got that that it factor, and it was a sense of maturity that other kids didn't have. And I've always had a hard time fitting in with kids my age and people even close to my age because I just don't get their attitude. But you were like an adult and a kid, and I was like, well, this is kind of weird. And then I started learning more about you, and it explains a lot. And one thing you said during that whole situation you were in was the driving force It was a driving force. And I like to ask everybody on this show, what is your driver, right? Because everyone always thinks that people that get through it have something different, like different motivation or different techniques or different pills they're taking. But a driver is what forces you to get up every day and do better, be better, work harder than the time before. And you going through that experience, I'd imagine, contributed to your driver, but what would you point to as your overall driving force that keeps you trying to improve day in and day out?
That's a really good question. I definitely say, you know, like I say, I always go back to, you know, everyone was put on this earth for a reason. And I do think my driving force for me was like finding my purpose in life. Like what will that be and how can I push myself every single day to find, that purpose. Um and I also think that um especially during that time my driving force was, you know, be for people what you needed because um you know I never got to reach out to people and talk to people about what this was like. Like I said, I just jumped into things. Um, and yeah, my mom always tells me this quote that's like super, super great. And it's like literally my life motto. And it's so simple, but it's just like, you are capable of doing hard things. And, that's kind of been my life motto just in general. Whenever times get hard, I remind myself that I can do it. It's possible. It may not feel like it in the moment, but it's something that is doable. And I definitely think that's one of them for sure.
You want to be to others what you would want others to be to you. And that's something that resonates so strongly with me because I started this Instagram thing of mine because a lot of people thought that I had everything figured out or that I was just a kid, like projecting what I think others should do. And I was full of myself. And I was like, what they don't understand is the whole reason I started all of this was because I have a horrible time at making decisions. I am terrible at sticking to something or committing to something, or once I do commit, I commit. But when I don't know, it's just like all flustered around and my head's confusing. And I always need someone to say it. I just need someone to say exactly what I'm thinking. But no one's going to say exactly what I'm thinking because no one's me. And so I started it all just to hear someone say what I would want to say, what I would want to hear said to me. And other people kind of liked what I was saying. And I was like, well, if that could help some other people, it's helping me and it's helping them. It's helping two birds with one stone. So is that kind of the route you were going with?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I first met you, my first impression was similar to how you felt of me. It's like you seem like a 30-year-old and, this actually not so little body, but like you were
Tiny back then.
gym. But yeah, I definitely think what you're doing, sorry. I
You're
definitely
good.
think what you're doing is very admirable.
Admirable.
Yes, thank you.
Words are hard. It's okay.
Yeah, words are very hard.
That's why we read scripts, right? We
Yes,
don't make them up.
yes, exactly. But you've always stood out to me as someone who you're so driven. It's something that I look up to you for. It's like you literally see your goal, and there could be 8 buses and trains and planes flying across the street, and you see it still very clearly at the end of the street. Like, I really admire that. And like you said, like, obviously, no matter what place, no matter what spot, no matter what level you get in life, there's always room for growth. I think always. You're never ever perfect. I mean, you could be one of the greats and there's still things to work on. Um but I think being able to share your knowledge and, your passions with other people is something people really want to listen to, especially in this year with
Yeah.
everything that's gone on this year specifically. um, I've been able to reach out to a lot of kids and just talk to them about, quarantine and mental health because I had to quarantine when I was sick. I couldn't see anyone because I had, no white
You had
blood.
like a real quarantine.
Yeah, like I literally was like could not see anyone.
Right.
And you know, so when this whole COVID thing came around, I was like, well, this is, I've already done this.
Mhm.
But I've been able to reach out to kids who are just like, you know, in real need of help and in need of advice and need of activities to do. And like I feel like listening to podcasts like this or like, you know, I literally sometimes try and like do your gym things.
I
Because
mean, the gym, the gym thing for me is it was a way to get started, and it was a niche that I was like, well, maybe I'll try this out. But I think there's a good amount of people that follow. There's like 20 people that follow me. Let's be honest. But there's at least like 5 of them aren't gym goers, and I think that's because everything I've said that might be tied into a workout, or if I post a what is that? Oh, okay, sorry. If I post a workout, I'll write in the caption is something that even if you don't go to the gym, hopefully you can resonate with. Or it's something that I live everything like that, not just going to the gym. And I feel like you're the same way. You survived something traumatic that a lot of people wouldn't be able to get through, but I think you carry that with you in everything else that you do, and that's why you're able to be successful or you do succeed.
yeah, I agree with you 100%. A lot of the things you say are, motivational advice and you never really understand the impact you have on people until you like, you meet people but who have, but even when I've had a bad day and I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see, one of your posts, it keeps me going. People want that energy to be shared. Um, Regardless. And we live in a town where uh
Just say it. Just say it.
we live in a town where doing anything different is often not accepted. Um Being someone, who is driven to a certain point or um just thinks out of the box, does things that are out of the box is often, judged and looked at.
Yeah.
That's just something I've noticed. And I really admire that you don't care. I mean, there gets to a certain point where you become so passionate about something that no matter what anyone tells you, it just doesn't matter anymore. Like it's that your purpose is to help other people, and not sharing your knowledge is not like gonna do anything.
I feed off of people with energy like yours because if everyone was, I'll be honest, and I'm sure you can attest to this. I hear so many influencers or social media people saying, you got to just not care about the number of followers. You got to just not care about how many likes you get. You just got to let it go. And let's be real. You do care about how many, even if it's a little, like just a little bit. I try not to let it bother me too much, but if I see that number drop a little bit, it's kind of like, well, shit, am I doing something wrong? Or am I missing something? And I feel like a lot of people um, see people at this level and they're down here and they think, oh, there just has to be something different for me to get to there. I can't get there. I have to stay here with all of this. When I'm trying to do, and I can tell you're doing it, and the reason I think you are successful in what you're doing is because you are young and you are relatable. And so when people see someone young and or relatable, there's no really barrier. They're like, oh, well, this he's my age. I could do that, or she is all the stuff she's doing. I could be doing that because I'm older than her. Why is she being better than me? I could go do that, right?
um People want to be connected with people.
Mm-hmm.
People want to find different ways to be motivated, and oftentimes, especially in today's age, um oftentimes that is looked at through social media, like what are other people doing, like what are the trends, all of this. But I think it's important to start using social media in a way to spread positive things. A lot of,
Mm-hmm.
what people and, people and young teens in general look at now on Instagram is not real, and the stuff that's being spread around is not bettering anyone. In fact, it's making people feel worse, especially like for women's body shaming and all that stuff. So I think it's really important to, even if you yourself, not you specifically, but
No, I get you.
doesn't think that it's going to make an impact, any type of positive, reinforcement that can be put back into the world, I think is something we really need, because
Mm-hmm.
social media and everything is just taking a very bad turn. I have to sometimes be off my phone, and I just unfollow accounts now that don't feed positivity into my life. I follow so many like good quote accounts, how to stay active. Obviously, I follow yours. Um, but that's why I think it's so incredible what you're doing, because it really does make an impact. And we need more people like you to sit down with people and say like, you know, um, this is how I feel today, just to be a
Yeah.
relatable human.
Well, that is why I had you on here, because um, as much as people might think it's just, oh, she's a friend of mine, and I'm just getting people on the show just to like get people on. I only have people on here that I really think are standing out and being better, being different in their field. And yes, you surviving cancer was a major feat that makes you different, but it's also your mindset to things like this. It's you said motivation. People are always looking for motivation. Everyone wants motivation. Well, motivation is that little push. I said this on the last one, I think, the little push on the swing set. But
Yeah.
if you get a push and the guy leaves, well, you can't swing by just one push. You got to learn to pump your legs, and you got to learn to swing on your own. And that's the driving force that I'm talking about. If you were just motivated when you were in that period of your life that you've gotten out of, you were just watching motivational videos or like David Goggins say you can do it, I don't think that will get you through it. I think there's something deeper inside of you, like you said, acting, singing, your desire to succeed in this industry and max out yourself in your field, I think is what is getting you through a difficult situation, COVID, this whole world right now. Being a teenager is hard. Getting you through that is that driving force, and that's why you're able to do it. I think that's why people like you, people like me, are able to do it with a smile on their face sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I agree with you. Yeah.
You started the Butterfly Warrior Foundation, right? Now, I could go on about my shitty research that I did, but I think people would much rather hear from the person that founded it. What is the organization? How can we help out? And why'd you start it?
You're so sweet. I started Butterfly Warrior because of my background, and like I said, to me it was really amazing how music and acting came into my life as kind of a saving force for me. I feel like music and just entertainment, anything in the entertainment business in general, really has huge effects on people's health. I mean, I listen to music depending on my mood. I will watch a sad movie when I feel like crying. I will watch a happy movie when I feel like being happy. Um, and I really wanted to start something that incorporated music therapy uh, in a way to heal people.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, as cancer has so many horrible effects that happen to your physical self, there's that whole mental aspect of it too, where it's just like you have to completely rebuild yourself up from the bottom. Like there's no you're just stripped. Everything gets lost so quickly. And I found that light again through, music and acting. So I wanted to create a charity um, where we can bring music therapy into hospitals and, provide musical instruments in different hospitals, bring pajamas to the kids, different things that helped me personally from someone who actually went through, you know, that whole thing, who understands what it's like. And just also be that mentor and sing at different events and hopefully use that money to fundraise to find a cure, because there's only 4% of government funding being put into childhood cancer, and it's a lot less rare than people would expect. Um, and, after going through that, it's become one of my life purposes to help find a cure and contribute in any possible way I can. So,
I mean, I don't know what your following feels. I mean, I can, as a member of your following, only relate to a certain amount of things that you've been through. Obviously, not a lot of the things that a majority of your following probably have been through, but I can tell that what you're doing and being that role model is making a difference because of how you are today. And to see someone like you sing or act and be like, holy shit, she survived what I have and is able to do that. I mean, when I found out DiCaprio had OCD, I was like, oh, all right, well then I can get through this. And ever since, I just haven't even looked back and pretended it's not even there. If people see someone like you, the way you carry yourself, the way you act, the way you perform, and I didn't even mean act as acting, but you see what I did? It's like a pun, right? The way you do that, it's gonna be not only motivating, but inspiring to be, there's someone like me it's what everyone's looking for. I think it's what I was always looking for. There is somebody like me being able to succeed and not letting they have the same things I've got. They have worse problems than I have, yet somehow they're getting shit done and they're succeeding. And as many excuses or reasons why they're doing it better than you might flood through your head, the bottom line is they're doing it and you can do it too. And I think that is what you're showing people.
I mean, like you said, I really liked what you said about, I feel like it's often other people push people up. So, like I said, there's so much, emphasis on the fact that it is so important to know that no matter where you are in life, there's always room to make it to the top. I don't think there ever is a top. Like, I don't think anyone there never. I don't think there ever is a top.
No.
I really don't. I think there's so much importance on knowing no matter what, there's so much growth to be done in everything in your life. And that's something that has helped me improve my skill. I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to learn from other people. I'm always trying to look at how other people are doing things and, um, really soak everything up, because especially in these young years, because, it's important. And like you said, I have grown up very fast. So I've had to adapt a lot of those qualities quickly. But getting to know you better has been nice for me too, just because, I think you're very mature and your viewpoints on the world are very similar to mine.
Well, I think this goes back to what we're both saying, and that we both have found a tangible, relatable person that is like us. I can point to you and I can point to David, who I had on the last podcast, in his own way, that they're like me. There's somebody like me. And I think the whole idea of social media, like you said earlier, how it's not doing what we would like it to be doing, what we think it should be doing, is because we know how much of an impact seeing someone like us can make in a day-to-day setting. I could be acting and I'd be like, fuck, I mean, Brooke did this, so I can do this. And that's what's That's what social media should be. But do you run into, what's your main problem with social media right now? What do you see that's just?
I think I think it just distracts people from focusing on themselves. It
Mm,
sets this standard, and it's a just a it's to me it's just an un social media to me is being used for a lot of the wrong reasons. There's online bullying. There's it's being used to, tear people down. Um, you see things on there that you don't want to see, and it may make you feel bad.
mhm.
Sometimes even just watching what other people are doing can, and if especially if it's like, your friends or whatever, can, have an
Mhm.
effect on you. Um, I just think there's a problem of not using people not using their platforms to really educate the public on today's problems. What is
Mm.
going on? We are in a pandemic. There are so many awful things happening in today's world. Um, and I just really wish it was being used for that purpose rather than how big is my butt. Like,
It's the feed, the Instagram feed. This is what people don't. Uh, I didn't even realize it until I like started, looking into things. The Instagram feed is the average of your followers, of who you are following, who you choose to follow. So if you're scrolling through your feed and you're going, their lives are so much better than mine, that's because you chose to follow people that post things that make their lives seem like they're better than yours. And one of the best things I ever heard was those Instagram models, the fitness ones, the just gorgeous dolled up ones. They don't even look like that. They
no,
don't look like that.
they
So
don't.
what makes you think you need to look like that? You don't. You just gotta be you. You gotta be you, and you gotta be better than you were the day before. And your Instagram feed, I go on there and I scroll through stories and I get addicted. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. Okay, I am just like you. I like to see more followers. I like to see more likes, and I like to go on Instagram and scroll through other people's lives. But I watch my own stuff too.
Right.
And I think other people should do that too. They need to go back to their old photos, or they need to really look at themselves and go. And I usually talk about kids my age because that's all I can relate to, but I think other people can learn from it too. You go back through your old stuff, or you go back and you look at yourself and you go, well, am I happy with what's on my feed? Am I
Right.
a good representation of myself? Not what other people are seeing, but what I am seeing. Do I like that person?
That to me is 100% spot on. That's what I wish social media is used for, which you are currently doing now, and I mean I hopefully am too. But it's being
I
your
mean, you
off.
came on here. I mean, I didn't expect you to. You did. I mean, I expected you to, but I didn't. You didn't need to. But you're coming on and you're opening up about things and you're talking, and it's making a huge difference.
It's just being authentic. It gets you so far in life, and like I said, the environment you and I are surrounded in Newport Beach can often be very artificial.
Mm.
And it is very hard to, find yourself in that way. And it took me a lot, it took me a lot to start being authentic with people. I at first was very scared to share my story. I I couldn't speak about it actually. Um, but it became a bigger purpose to share it when I, met other kids struggling and who needed help. So,
Do you find authenticity as an actress can sometimes get confusing, as in real life, as in what is my authentic self? When am I putting on a character? Do you feel that?
yeah, it definitely can get confusing 100% as an actor. I 100% would say it does, but what I try to do in my work is find something in whatever situation, whatever character that I can use my personal life experience and apply it to.
Mm.
And by doing that, I'm adding my own authentic self into a character while also, becoming another person.
Mm-hmm.
I think
But what about in life, like when you're not trying to act, right? Do you ever get confused and think, well, maybe, like you said, you want to be authentic? I
yeah.
find sometimes authenticity can vary from situation to situation, and I sometimes go, well, was I really authentic there, or was I acting?
Oh,
And do you think you run into that?
yeah.
You do.
I mean, I think I have. I think I've gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, as I've become a senior and grown up more in high school, uh, especially in high school, I realized that if people don't love you for you, then why are they in your life? There's absolutely no reason for people to be in your life who are in love with a fake version of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, in high school, there's a lot of, stereotypes and all that. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't fucking matter
We,
because we all graduate and we start a new like journey. And that's kind of what I this year and a little bit of last year, but I really started finding myself this year more and just having that time in quarantine to kind of just look at myself and what can I improve on. Like I said, we're going to get out of here and we are all going to start fresh. There's no, popularity isn't a thing. It's we are adults now and we are actually going out into the real world. Um and like I said, like why would you want people in your life who are in love with a fake version of yourself? You shouldn't.
I find others sometimes, and I do myself, but I've been called selfish, arrogant many times by people that I would be like, really, I thought you know me better than that. I think people just misuse the word. I think they attribute arrogance and selfishness to being self-focused. And the end of the day, this might offend some people, but your life is your life.
Yep.
So to a degree, you do need to be selfish if you want your life to turn out the best way it can turn out. If you're so focused on your friends and everybody around you and making them happy, and you're not focused on you, like you said, what's going to happen when you go into the real world? What are you going to have left?
A lot of times people think high school is it. It's like you become this mindset where you start to think like, oh, like this is what life is like. Like, this is only a very small portion of the rest of your life. Like, and at times it's obviously hard to view it like that. But, like I said, I do think people use the word selfish and arrogant in the wrong way because
Mm-hmm.
you being focused, you posting about, the things you're passionate about, people look at that and they're like, "Oh, well, he feels confident enough to post this."
Mm-hmm.
That's not arrogance, that's or, selfishness. That's you having put in the work first of all to master not master a skill, but, get very
Improve, be better at it, right?
better at a skill and share it with the world to help other people. That is actually the opposite of selfish because you are focusing on putting yourself first, then using, your talent and your skill to educate others.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like you said, selfish is very misused because it's actually the opposite in many cases.
Yeah, and I look at it like if if you singing something because you want to look back on it and go, I could sing that. And then you post that, and then someone else watches that and is inspired by it, you're doing your job. It's
Yeah.
like we read something in English class. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember anything. But it was basically people are always asking authors and writers, well, did they intend all this symbolism that we broke down? Was this the meaning of it? And the answer is, it doesn't matter. If
Yeah.
that's what you got out of the book, The author did his job. And so I think if me posting some video that I rewatch every Sunday because it helps me to keep from feeling bad about what I ate the night before helps somebody else, but I made it originally for me, is it a bad, that's not a selfish thing. And I think
saying it's not self, it's actually helping others. It's, you know, maybe that one person who's calling you selfish doesn't, you know, relate, like can't connect that way. That doesn't mean everyone else is not looking at that and saying, oh, this is interesting to me. I want to try doing this. You know what I mean? It's also crazy to me. One person who says one negative thing, I'm not saying this to you, like I'm not saying this at you, I'm just saying in general, can ruin someone's day. Like it can
one bad comment can make me feel like trash. I mean, it's just...
And it's, you know, something that I have learned is something that comes, and I mean, you probably know this too, something that comes along with this industry is rejection, a lot of it. And you have to be okay with it, and you have to snap your fingers and move on. And that has helped me throughout my life too, because I have learned to be okay with being disappointed and then moving on and asking myself, how can I improve? And that to me has become a huge life skill, because, you know, that's another problem with like the day and age we face, is people just want to tear other people down. It's like, it just happens way too often.
Where do you want to be in 5, 10, 15 years? Where is your vision? We talked about visions and goals earlier. Where do you want to be?
It's a really, really good question. I think I know 3 things. One, want to continue, make sure that my charity work is very prevalent in my life. That is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's become important to me, and a huge connection there. 2, I see myself working and doing what I love, and being happy. I mean, I would love to continue to, you know, work on Broadway and do more incredible films and TV shows and, you know, all that. But I think where I see myself in 4 years is just very happy in myself, where I have become, and also knowing, you know, hopefully, you know, doing what I love to more extreme levels.
Yeah. Do you have a preference, whether it's theater or singing or movies and TV? Is there one you prefer over the other?
So hard, because I've gotten this question before, and it's almost like different modes to me. Like sometimes I'll be like, I love musical theater more than anything in my whole life. Sometimes when I'm doing TV and film, I'm like, I like this more. Like I feel this is more real to me. I can really, you know, ground myself. It's, you know, less big. I can, you know, be in this. So it's definitely an on and off situation for me, I would say. I love both.
That's okay. I mean, we have to love different things. If we're pigeonholed into one, I mean, I like the podcast and listening to people's stories. I just started this, but I mean, just from the past 2 that I've done, which is shocking because I did David, who I've known since 7th grade, and I now done you, who I've known since freshman year, since you walked into the stage door thing, and I was like, "Who's that? What's she doing there?" I don't. Yeah, and I didn't know who you were. You couldn't do the show because you had to. I don't know. You had to do something, but yeah, but
it was. I was flying to the Frozen premiere.
Right, and here I was just thinking like Oh, this girl can't do the show, dropping that. You can't judge a book by its cover, people, even though we all do.
That's another topic we should get into
We
because
can get into it in half a second, but I wanted to finish saying that learning from, no, don't apologize. Stop it. This is your hour, not mine. I shouldn't even be speaking. Learning from, I'm going to be learning from people I've never met, and just sitting down and having a real conversation with two people I've already known. I've learned so much more about them and how much more similar we are. And I think we are very similar. And I think the people I've interviewed, the two of you, we are very similar. But I think it's also a testament to the world we're in. If we sat down and had a conversation, and I was a liberal and Jimmy is a conservative and we hate each other, but we sat down for an hour and had a conversation, pretty sure we found a lot more in common than we did before we sat down.
It's questions that you don't think to ask people. And they're basic questions.
Mhm.
You know, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your goals in life? We don't ask people this in, normal circumstances. It's not normal to text someone on Snapchat and be like, "Hey, what's up? What are your goals?" But these are
That's why I don't get anybody to respond to my Snapchat.
Okay, you know what I mean. I'm just saying, like, it's not parts of our normal conversation with people. And these are questions that need to be asked in order to connect with someone on a deeper level. But we don't do that anymore because oftentimes we're so buried in other things, social media, what's happening over here,
What other people are doing.
What other people are doing. We're
Or
so
what we perceive other people are doing. Yeah. What did you think about that whole "don't judge a book by its cover," even though we all do a thing?
In my drama class, you and I have both been judged for stereotypes, or at least I know I have. I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it was incredible. Our relationship as friends, our relationship has been, it started not rocky, but it started, we just didn't know each other.
I didn't even know myself, if I'll be honest with you.
And I didn't either. And we looked at each other, as, we probably judged each other a little bit for the things we saw on the outside. But I don't know when we actually sat down and talked for the first time. It was like a couple months ago. We kind of talked out our issues, and I realized, like, wow, there is so much more to you than what I had perceived, and I know you felt the same way. Like, it's just, and we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of everything. Guilty of judging someone by its.
When you go to a library, you look at the cover of a book and you decide if you want to read it. There's no denying that. And that's the same thing. People say don't judge a book by its cover, but we all do. And it's the same thing with real life. We do. I judged you hard, and I know you judged me too. But we did have a conversation after not talking to people for a very long time. I sat down with you and we FaceTimed, and we talked for like 2.5 hours of just talking.
Yeah. And it was nice because I finally realized, like, wow, like, we actually have a lot in common. We have a lot of the same goals. We're both very driven people, I believe. And you just we wouldn't have known that if we didn't ask each other the questions that you're asking me today and that you're encouraging other people to ask. We actually sat down and actually communicated, which is, like, seems so simple, yet completely changed the way we view each other, when we're working. So I just think, even though we're all guilty of it, it has also helped me to be like, you just never know. You just don't know a person until you sit down with them and, talk. Like, it's.
Yeah, I think it is difficult, and it would be much different if I wasn't talking to somebody like you who who's comfortable with eventually recognizing when someone's being honest, when someone's being artificial, and be comfortable enough to talk with them. And I feel like a lot of people, even if I did try to talk to them, wouldn't be comfortable being honest and opening up. It's hard to make someone feel comfortable enough to really let you know who they are. But I feel like as a society, if we were able to let others feel comfortable enough to really show each other who we are, we'd find we are all humans. We all have a lot in common. We just need to get past the barriers, the masks, the public personas we've put up.
Yeah, 100%.
And on that note, I would like to say to everybody in the audience or watching this to go out there, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, be better.